Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wi-Fi technology presented to you by your host Ibu Janha, coming from the Ansaruddin USA television networks, and we hope you enjoy the show. Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ibu Janha, the host on this Ansaruddin radio and television network. Today we are back here live, broadcasting on the Ansaruddin USA television. As most of you might be very familiar with me, I'm the one who normally broadcasts on the radio, and normally or usually do host the episode of Computer Technology, which is a program that was designed to find ways to make a difference in our community. It is a very educational program that was crafted hoping that at least those who are already in college, or for that matter, those who are in high school and getting ready to go to college, will pick up something beneficial from the program. Tonight I am delighted to be back here with you, broadcasting live from the Ansaruddin USA television network. And tonight I'll be talking about Wi-Fi, which is a topic which I believe is very interesting. I found it indeed very fascinating. And after tonight's broadcasting, or after tonight's show, our audience will know what is the meaning of Wi-Fi. But a lot of folks or people out there heard of the term Wi-Fi, but probably don't know what it represents. And we'll also talk about, or I will also talk about the history of this technology and some of the standards that governs this technology also will be highlighted here. And also how to connect to a Wi-Fi. I will also talk about why computer, or why somebody's computer might not be able to connect to a wireless network. I will also be looking at the benefits of Wi-Fi, and in conclusion, we will discuss on some of the devices that people are able to use to connect wirelessly to a network. And as usual, at the end of the program, we'll be inviting questions or comments for our audience who might be willing to contribute or to have to ask a question. You can dial the number 347-202-0218. What is Wi-Fi? Normally, the term is spelled W-I-F-I, and by now a lot of you might be very familiar with the term. Wi-Fi represents, or it means wireless fidelity. That is what it means. And just to be very simple and to be very basic, what does Wi-Fi represent, or what does it mean? What is the technology about? Well, that is normally the big question out there. Well, Wi-Fi allows the user to connect to a network in the absence of a wire. If you want to be very precise, or if we want to define this technology here, I think that would be the best way to define what it represents, or what does it mean. It just allows the user to connect to a computer network without using any cable. That's what this technology does. If you look at the history of this technology here, like I always say, it is a very recent technology that we're looking at here. It just started, we can say, in the late 90s. And prior to the existence, or I can say prior to the arrival of this technology here, when somebody wants to connect to a computer network, the only option that was out there was you would have to use a cable to either connect direct to a switch or to a router to have access to that particular network. But again, when this technology arrived, people now have the option to connect to a computer network or to connect to the internet in the absence of a cable. So it really calls for convenience. Well, if you connect to a Wi-Fi, you can transmit data at a very high speed. And the distance we're looking at, a typical Wi-Fi, particularly the one that most of us use in our homes or in our businesses, we're looking at 100 meters. But again, in actuality, the typical Wi-Fi distance, we're looking at about 30 meters. And if you go beyond this distance here, you will begin to realize that the strength of this signal is weakening. Well, if we look at the technology here, when it was first introduced to us by the IEEE, the standards, we're looking at the 802.11a, the B, and then the G. And prior to the arrival of this technology, we have seen that people were using their computers to connect to the internet with a transmission rate of about 56 kilobits per second. That is the days, or those are the days of the dial-up network. But when this technology arrived, we see that people now have the opportunity or have the capability to use their computers at a speed of at least 11 megabits per second, which is relatively way faster than the 56 kilobits per second. And like I just said, the first standards were the A, the B, the C, and then the G. And most of them, we are looking at a transmission rate of about 11 megabits per second. And we went up to the 54 megabits per second when the 802.11g was introduced. So those are just some of the standards. And now, of course, the IEEE, since they are always working to move forward technology to advance humanity, well, the standards are way beyond this 802.11b, A, and G. But the reason I brought this up is that when this technology was introduced to us, these were the first standards. Well, again, we'll be looking at giving a wireless a name. I mean, of course, for most of you who've been using the internet, if you open up your laptop or your desktop and connecting to the internet wirelessly, of course you will see that when you open your wireless icon, which is normally at the bottom right of your computer, you will see that list of wireless networks shows up. And what that represents is that all those names that appears at that bottom right, especially when you put the mouse over the Wi-Fi icon or the wireless icon, it just tells you the number of networks that are available for you to connect to. That's what that means. And again, once you identify or you see the wireless network that you want to connect to, you just click on that icon or on that network and then provide or input the password that is associated with that particular network, and then of course you will be connected. Well, those names that appears are the names of the network that you want to connect to or that are around you. And you have the option of changing those names if you want. By default, the name of your wireless is normally the default name, which just comes with the wireless router you're using. But again, if you want to change that, you have the option of doing so. And that particular name is what is referred to as the SSID, which is the service set identifier. If you want to change the name of that wireless network, all you do is just replace whatever the default name is by the name that you want to give to your network. Again, I'm going to take a quick break here, and I'll be back, but reminding our audience that you are listening here, live broadcasting coming from the Ansarudin USA Television Network with your host Ibu Janha. And I am back to this episode of Computer Technology. And tonight or today we are talking about, or I am discussing, or I'm talking about the Wi-Fi technology. I'll be back shortly after this break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Continuing or moving forward, now I'll be talking about how do one connect to a wireless network. Well, I have my computer, whether it's a desktop or is a laptop. How do I connect to a wireless network? This is a question that normally arises during our discussions here. How do I connect to wireless? It is very simple. To connect to a wireless network, of course, you would have a computer that is equipped with wireless. Again, a very important point. Let me repeat that. In order to connect to a wireless network, you will need a computer that is equipped with a wireless card. And again, in the absence of a wireless card, there is no way, or it's practically impossible for one to connect to a wireless network. Because the wireless access point or the wireless router definitely relies on this wireless card to be able to connect that computer to the network. So if you don't have a wireless card, it will not be possible for one to connect to the wireless network. So actually you will definitely need a wireless card. Well, if you are using a very recent technology or a computer that is not that old, you won't have to worry about this, because most of these computers today are equipped with this technology. All you have to do is make sure that the wireless card is on or is not disabled. And to connect to the wireless, all you do, like I said earlier, if you turn your computer on and your wireless card is not disabled, if you go to your bottom right or to the bottom right of your computer, you will see the icon normally if you go to the bottom right. And once you put the cursor or the mouse on that particular icon, well, it will give you the list of the wireless networks that are available. Again, this is provided that you have your wireless card enabled. If you disable your wireless card, then when you go to the bottom right of your computer, this icon will not show. It's important to make sure that you have your wireless card enabled. And to connect to the wireless network, all you have to do, put the mouse over that icon to the bottom right, and then all of the wireless networks that are available to your area, or the ones that your computer picked up, would show up. And then what you simply do is just select the one you want to connect to. And if it is a protected network, meaning that it requires a password for authentication, then again you would have to provide the password. Otherwise, if it is an open network, once you double click on that particular network, a connection will be established. So it is very simple to connect to a wireless network. The other issue is why my computer is not picking up a signal. I'd like to talk about this because I have seen over and over a lot of folks have some issue with this. I have a brand new computer. It is equipped with a wireless card, but again I can't connect to this particular network. Well, there could be several factors or several issues that might cause that. Number one, the most important one is definitely to connect to a wireless network. You always have to provide a password. That's typical. That's just for security reason. And of course, if you are not using the right password for that network, normally you won't be able to connect to that particular network. That's number one, which is very important. Another issue we're looking at here is you can disable your wireless card without knowing it. Sometimes it does happen. Or not disabling it, but just by turning it off. Again, if you have a brand new laptop, most of these laptops, if you look on the sides of these laptops, either to the left or to the right, or even sometimes if you look at the front of the laptop, you will see a very tiny button with the wireless icon, and you have the option of switching it on or off. So if that button is switched off, or if that wireless card is switched off, then of course your computer won't be able to pick up any signal. So always make sure that you switch your wireless on if you want to have access. Another issue is, for instance, if you happen to change your computer's OS, means your computer's operating system, if you decided to upgrade, or for some reason your computer happens to have a virus and you replace the OS, sometimes most of these computers will automatically pick up the wireless card. But again, for some instances, the computers might not, or the computer might not detect the wireless card. So what you will need to do is download what is referred to as a driver. And what that does is that it just alerts the computer that a new hardware or a new OS has been installed to this particular machine. And once you install the driver, then you will have access to the wireless networks. So those are some of the key issues we're looking at, why you might not be able to connect to a wireless connection network or access point. And another issue is you might already establish connection, but still you can barely browse the internet, or you are browsing at a very low speed. Sometimes what causes that is that, like I pointed out, the standard distance for a typical Wi-Fi, we're looking at about 30 meters. If you are far from where this access point is located, of course you will have a very poor signal, and if you rely on that poor signal to transmit data, you will see that you will be browsing slowly the internet. Well, this technology here, like I say, it calls for convenience, and many people it, and it of course comes with a lot of benefits. Like I say, it calls for convenience. It is cost effective. You can connect your computer in terms of cables, just relying on radio waves to connect to the internet. And now there are wireless printers now, printers that you just don't need to attach to your computer using a cable, but instead you can place them anywhere in your house, your office, anywhere. As long as they are powered on, you can use them wirelessly. Well, that's pretty neat. Our television networks now, most of these latest televisions now are equipped with this technology. Like I said, this technology here comes with a lot of advantages, but there are some issues that are associated with it. Nothing major. I think overall security is always an issue with this technology. The simple reason that intruders don't need to use a cable to access your network. That's a big issue there. But nonetheless, I believe it is still a safe technology once you create your network and then make sure that it requires authentication before people can connect to it. I think you should be okay and have nothing to worry about it. So it's a great technology. Another issue here is like the distance, like pointed out. Since the typical Wi-Fi, we're looking at 30 meters. Sometimes if you are away from your access point, you will see that the transmission or the way you use your internet is low. Again, those are just some of the disadvantages of using this technology here, but nonetheless, I believe it's a fascinating technology. Again, this is your host, Ibu Janha, that concludes tonight's program here. I do you live from the Ansari USA Television Network. I thank you for listening and hope that somebody somewhere benefits from this program today. That's just the goal of this program. Trying to find ways to help and guide the students who are either in high school getting ready to enroll into college, or actually those who are already in college and probably studying the fields that are related to this IT area. Again, this is your host Ibu Janha, broadcasting live from the Ansari USA Television Network. I thank you all for listening, and you have a good day.